live button?
I started streaming, but I just hit go live.
Excellent, thank you. All right,
Like on page 60. It says the unincorporated Twila County.
Gotta get to it and pull it up so I can follow along with where you're at.
so the last plan I have is August 25th. Is there a newer one?
This one I got offline or online.
There's only been one draft of the annexation policy.
Okay, that's what
We've changed the map a lot, but we've never made any changes to the policy
Okay, great.
yet.
All right, what do we need to discuss on this?
Well, like it says, if it's the same one, I went over, there's a few things. It's like, there's one place where it's misnumbered. It should be a J and not a K. And then on one of the tables, there's some problems. It skipped the numbering. I mean, they're just little things, but then I noticed on one, we lost the illustration, like this was on it with the illustration, but if you looked at one of them, the illustration disappeared.
All right, so what page in the policy is it you're looking at?
It was 617.
Number 8?
I.
There is no 8 and I.
I think it's the one with the exploding
It's the one with what?
targets or whatever.
This is an annexation policy.
Instead of, it's not land.
You're looking somewhere in land use. No, this is just the annexation policy that I emailed to everyone a couple weeks ago. It's a 2-page
Right.
policy on what annexations.
It says draft plan, Erda annexation policy plan,
So we just
and it looks very boilerplate.
messed up on the agenda. That should have said annexation rather than land use.
Yes.
That's why.
On the agenda, it should have said annexation policy.
And I knew that, but I figured annexation is land use, I guess.
It is land use. Terry's so on top of things though. He's like, wait a minute. But you did find some typos in our
Code.
on the code.
We should circulate those in an email and get them corrected.
I agree. It's still useful. I'm glad you found them.
On my computer for nothing.
In our last discussions, nobody has said anything in the policy that should be changed.
But there were several
There were-
changes to
there
the
were-
map.
there
and
were-
those
Did we get-
completed.
Buy-in for the people that are in the clay 90.
We had multiple people ask to be included. To the best of my knowledge, we've seen no comment from anyone asking to not be included in that area. We received multiple phone calls and emails people wanting us to include those.
So did we add that to the map?
Yes,
I mean, we can still add it to the map because whether they do it or not is another story. That just means they can if they so desire.
if they desire, they can do an annexation in.
But they have to be in our map to start.
They have to be in our map. The changes left to be made on it. Chris Robinson asked to have his piece of ground taken out.
Did we get a price on Somas for making the new map?
They can't do that until they generate the map. They don't know how much work to do because we haven't decided what to have them do yet.
Voting on it.
I'm sure it'll be another couple $100 to have the map adjusted again.
Hundreds is better than thousands.
Always.
It's always better.
Yes, we'll pass that along.
There we go.
Okay.
So, I believe in the last meeting, we said that we agreed to bring the Clegg 90 in. But that's something that we need to make sure that's what we want, and we wanted the others out. I think we could adopt this. I think John even made a resolution for it, did he not?
I think the statement was anybody that wanted out could be out and anybody wanted to be in could be in.
John just emailed one that says plan final. It has changed. It's, I think, shorter now.
That's all it ever was.
Do you know the owner of Holiday Oil? The guy who owns that one over there?
I do not personally know the owner of Holiday Oil. There's two brothers that, I know the father died, and there's two brothers that own Holiday Oils, but I don't know.
That'd be a good thing to get annexed in, I think.
There's more commercial property there. It would be nice.
If they decide to annex in, that we get them too. So we gotta figure out how to contact them.
I think there's chances of another Holiday Oil over closer to the new exit too.
Good.
That won't be in order.
Yeah, might not be.
John, are you with us? Any significant changes on that final you just sent us? Oh. Okay, great.
Send it. I didn't get it.
I'll forward it right now.
All right, so if we're all good with the policy itself, we need to decide what amendments to the map need to be made.
Do we need to list those line by line?
I think we should.
Vote on them wholesale?
We agree to it, I think we can vote on it wholesale, but we need to discuss and be perfectly clear on the record what we want in, what we want out. And then we can adjust the map.
It wasn't that many though, wasn't it just the Robinson out?
Yes.
And still a portion of his was in, but most of it was out, so we were just making up for the rest of that. And then we're putting in the Clegg 90.
Yes.
That's about it, isn't it?
Those are the only changes I'm aware of.
We didn't put in them others that already wanted out, like Kennecott or whatever and all that other stuff.
Is that good enough for the public record, or do we need to be more specific on parcels?
We did talk about the parcel numbers in the last meeting. We also probably need to close the public comment
Yep,
on it
before we vote on it.
before we do anything.
We got anybody wanting to do comment, Jennifer?
I do not see any hands raised.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the public hearing on the proposed annexation plan and associated map.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we close the public hearing. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Hearing is now closed. I say we get very clear on what's in and what's out and vote on it.
Yeah, we don't have a physical map with us tonight. I don't believe I have one. Print one off, so
As long as we have one electronically, we can reference.
that we do have.
I've been struggling to find that for about 5 minutes. So if you find it, can you direct me to it?
Not that one.
Jen, is that map up on the public notice website? Is that the way to get to this?
The original map was put up on the public notice website
So
for the
that's
planning
where-
commission.
It's the wrong one. Did it ever get changed out?
Yeah, so there was the original one, it went through some changes.
I have received an updated map with the ones with the changes.
Okay.
We have it. If I can find it, we have it here.
Here I have a PDF from August 25th.
Mhm.
I may have found it. Okay, so the title of this one is Map of Erda Proposed Annexation Policy Area CFR Markup 7/14/2022.
That is not the right one.
Well, that's the one that got marked up but not changed.
Not changed.
All right.
I just sent you the last one that I had. It looks like it has most of the changes done.
Okay.
If you want to pull it up, I just sent it to you. It just has the lines in red. Other than that one parcel that needs to be removed from Mr. Robinson.
Perfect. And there we go. Yep, I think this is it.
The one we sent with the public notice was for this meeting was the updated one,
Okay.
and I can't find it. That's
This one is 8/10/22 Erda annexation map compressed.
the one.
I just forwarded you that email.
So you
Okay.
should have it. Terry,
Should as well.
off the laptop.
Well, I'm trying to do it on my little phone, but I don't have the super password.
For the internet.
Yeah, password's kind of crazy.
Let me see
I
if
should have looked in one of the ones I sent, and then I'd have been able to find it.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the. Now it's gone. I swear, Scott, I had it there a second ago.
I saw it.
I knew how to work technology.
Nobody knows how to work technology, we're still best we can.
Do you do the guest one or the secure one?
It's the guest, and I just texted you along with some other notes that I've got, so you gotta disregard that other stuff.
Used against you?
So on the map, the parcel of Chris Robinson's is the northeast parcel that needs to be removed.
I didn't get it.
And then the Clegg 90 would be this little peninsula that comes in on the south side of Bates Canyon Road.
So we're including all the way to Bates,
Yes,
okay, which is Robinson.
this piece right here.
Okay. You said northeast, so.
Yeah, the very northeast parcel.
And how far does that go to that white line?
So this black line is the city boundary currently.
Uh-huh.
This red line is the proposed annexation policy area.
And Chris has all of that in red?
Chris has this one little parcel right here,
A rectangle or square?
rectangle.
Okay,
This little,
the one on the right.
it's an 80-acre sliver, but it is 80 acres.
Okay. And everything else there closer to the highways, the gravel pits. Okay.
However the group wants to do it. John, was there a resolution made up on this already?
Oh, okay.
Well, then, if that's the case, the best thing to do is have the resolution drawn, have the map fixed, and bring this back to the next meeting. In my opinion, that would be the best move.
So the red part's what we're putting, that's what we're putting in.
This is kind of like playing a game of telephone.
Part
but
of it's taken off.
the only part taken off from the red part is that parcel to the right. Sliver right there,
Very right, right?
to the very right.
So we'll create a,
No, there,
That's
there,
right.
yeah. And then that will be rounded off at Bates Canyon. Looks great. Has my approval. My vote.
We would just draw Chris out.
Chris out, and then we can just put a little red dotted line across there if that subdivision ever decides to annex in.
Yeah.
I will get with Chris and have the map amended and ready for our next meeting.
sounds good.
Good with it if you are.
Well, if it's under so much money, let us know how much it is first.
He doesn't have to create it, all he has to do is amend it. It'll be quick and easy. He'll be able to do it in 30 minutes.
It's not, the point I'm trying to make is it's not on our budget, so we gotta kinda make it part of the budget by
We have
the money to do it, but we gotta officially make it.
Yeah, we have professional services budget, they'll cover it. This will be,
We have to bring up the amount and the price, cause it's not an automatic done, cause it's not budgeted for it. So we do have money to pay for it, but it's not budgeted for it, so we have to bring it before us to vote on it. kind of thing.
It probably just takes a resolution, doesn't it?
It wasn't even really that, it's just like last time what I did, I just said, give me 3 councilmen to say, yay, I can go ahead and pay this or do whatever, and that's all it took. Then I have something to back it up, and I put it with it and say, this is how it got approved and why and stuff, so.
Okay. So the chair moves that we continue table consideration of resolution 2218 until next meeting.
Second.
Resolution 2218 is for the PID policy.
Oh, I'm sorry. That we continue, well, the item is
Policy.
proposed land use ordinance, but we're gonna continue the annexation policy until next meeting.
You still good seconding that?
Okay, great. All right. I don't think we need a vote on that. We close public comment. Okay, unless there's anything else, let's move on to our resolution 2218. Resolution 2218, approving a policy statement for establishing public infrastructure districts. I'm expecting some lively debate on this tonight, so who wants to start?
Sounds like you.
With the amendments that John has written in there, I'm 100% for it. We're good. Just to summarize those changes, for residential type PIDs, no mill levies whatsoever will be allowed under the policy. However, fee-based PIDs will be allowed. Thank you, John. There will be no such restriction on commercial development. PIDs.
Okay. So, wasn't there a discussion about if we don't have no levy? Could this, where was this, wasn't this you and I were talking about this, Craig?
Yeah.
If we don't have a mill levy, then a PID won't.
In discussions I've had, and I've been in 5 different meetings on PIDs now, largely what they say is if you have a PID that does not allow a mill levy, you essentially have a policy that doesn't allow PIDs. Because nobody will bond on a pay at the time of sale. That's not how these bonds that go in the millions of dollars work. They want a continuous stream of money over a 30-year time period. That's how the bonding company will make money. They won't issue bonds solely on this other system. And so if you eliminate the mill levy, you pretty much put in a policy that doesn't allow PIDs.
Well, they can still do it. They can still put in for it. It doesn't stop them. You're just saying that they might not choose to do it.
No, if we say we won't allow mill levy,
It's a tax.
they can't apply for it.
Or they could apply for it.
But it was automatically, our policy doesn't allow it. So if we put in there that you can't have a mill levy, then you can't have a mill levy. We couldn't approve it if we wanted to.
Well, it's fee-based, not mill levy-based.
It's fee-based,
They
but
can still pay the
a
fee.
bonding agent will not issue bonds on fee base.
I think more research is more to back that statement up.
Can we get,
I'm still
what is his
comfortable
name,
with-
Josh,
Marcus.
Marcus?
And
guy from
I think
Designs
Marcus
Bank?
would be happy to come out and discuss it with us again.
And it still baffles me how one entity can borrow money and make another entity pay for it. That's the way it is, but that still makes no sense.
Well, the entity owns the property and the mill levy goes against the property. So when you sell the property, it has that levy against it.
But they don't have to pay that loan back. It's the people that buy the deal have to pay.
No, but the property's not worth as much because it has that against it. If I go get a loan against a piece of property, I can still sell it as long as it goes with the property. It's just not worth as much anymore because it has that loan against it. I know there's been a lot of discussion about it's a hidden fee, a hidden tax, and the second or third buyer won't know it's there. If anyone's ever looked at an MLS listing on the first page, what they talk about, what the taxes on that property are, it's never hidden. If there's disclosures where the first buyer has to see it, or sees it and knows about it, every buyer there afterwards will know because it's right there on the MLS. And when they do a mortgage, the mortgage company will know, hey, it's going to cost this much extra every month.
This isn't the time to be taxing extra tax, so everybody's getting taxed all to heck. And I'm not gonna, I mean, this is just me personally, I ain't gonna vote for
Yeah,
type of mill levy tax.
yeah, they pay for it one way or another. Like I say, if we approve a PID policy that doesn't allow any mill levy,
Is that true, John?
I would be.
They said anything.
I would be happy to table until we have more. I could vote for that.
I think we should get those guys, get Zions in here again, like John said, and have him explain how that's gonna work. Because I asked him that question when he was here. I said, isn't there an option to just,
When he said fee-based, and that
yeah,
was like.
and he did say that, but I also remember being a little unsatisfied with his answer, because it seemed kind of short, that, yeah, there was that option. But I think he answered my question and that was it. But I would like to know the answer to this, if we don't have a mill levy,
And I'm happy to do
Yeah.
this and go along with this.
yeah, let's do
And-
that.
Asking Zions if they're in favor of a mill levy
Yeah.
type PID or not.
Or fee-based, like,
It's kind of like going to the gas station owner and asking him, should I buy a regular or premium? He's gonna say premium every time
Yeah,
because he
yeah.
makes a lot more money on it. Which
is there
the gas
somebody else,
station owner doesn't, but you get what I'm saying.
is there somebody else that can fill us in on this?
There should be a statute somewhere that says how that stuff works. I mean, it came down from
State,
There is, and in the state statute, you're allowed to do mill levy and assessment base. And I think they work well together.
like I
I'm
said,
not opposed to having a
it's
mill
both of
levy.
them, so you don't need them both. You can still just do one or the other. Or they wouldn't have listed both of them.
You can, like I say, I just, from what I've been told, from many, many meetings on this now, 5 of them that I've been in,
You should have took somebody with you. Then it'd be just more than you knowing it.
well, Scott's been in a couple of them with me. Marcus
Yeah.
was here. Some of them I was invited to on other boards that I'm on. Yeah,
yeah. Um,
I would be happy to vote to table this until we got more information. I would be happy to have a mill levy low enough that it incentivizes and makes a person have a payment base with it. But if we eliminate it altogether, I think that's bad. Also, the way this is written, I would be very, very opposed to it, because the way it's written, I think it could be exploited and they could actually have a 10 mil levy on a residential development. Because it's-
They can't do their own tax.
Well, what this policy says is a district intended solely for primary home residential development will not be considered for a mill levy.
The taxes.
Oker Point is not solely for primary home residential. The way this is written, Oker Point could apply for a 10 mil levy on everything.
They'd have to go through us to get it
They
approved.
do, they would.
That's
John,
the
are
only
you,
It just-
part that's
John, are
scary.
you hearing that? On the sole
The,
primary reason, what was it?
the place, Uh,
Second part of that I don't really like is that you get your loan for your house from the bank, and if you don't make payments on that, you get foreclosed, and then if you get a PID thing, and if you don't pay that, that's a second one that the committee can foreclose on your house. There's two ways they can foreclose on it.
if you don't pay your taxes, the county will foreclose on you. There's already the same two ways.
Times are tough.
So John, let's revise that policy so that mixed, says something about mixed developments, both commercial and residential, can apply separately or. Well, what I'm saying is if a development has both concepts in it, I want them to be able to, yeah, use it as an exploit, as Craig is talking about.
But how do you separate these? We'll use Oak Point as a prime example. They gotta bring sewer and water. Is that sewer and water for the commercial or is it for the residential? It's one development. It's the same sewer line. If they put in the highway or Third Parkway and the interchange, is that for the residential or is it for the commercial? It's the same interchange for both uses. I don't think you can split them. If a development was solely for commercial, a small one, you could say that it was, and it would be easy, but I don't think you can split a development that has one water line, one sewer line, one major infrastructure road.
50-50.
How do you split?
What about the fees? Do we need to go ahead and put in what's in yellow? On fees, you got it. There's a thing, it says all checks are to be made payable to Erda City and sent to, and then it's just blank. And the letter of intent is submitted to, and it's blank.
Would that be our office?
So that's what I'm asking. Do we need to fill in these blanks? Or we just,
I think your recorder should be the formal request for everything. Well, Mr. Chairman, I move that we table resolution 20-18 until we can get more information on it and be a little more educated about it.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we table resolution 22-18. Let's do a roll call vote. Since we're probably divided. I'll start on set of group. Stop.
I vote yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Chair votes no.
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 Terry votes no. Okay, table fails, so now we have to vote on it. I'm not ready to vote on it without significant changes.
In order to prevent.
Now, hold on, then why didn't you table
Yeah,
it?
why didn't I table it?
I move we reconsider our vote.
John,
With the
is
amendment.
that language something you're gonna be able to have done tonight, or should we go ahead and table this? Okay. Well, then it does sound like we need more time. The chair will.
One of you,
I'll, now the chair moves that we table this consideration of resolution 2218 till next meeting.
I second it again.
Next meeting. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we table again resolution 2218. Go to a roll call vote. Scott?
I vote yes.
Craig?
yes.
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 Cal?
No,
Motion
That's
carries.
my line and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
now we can talk about the
Schools.
schools. Because there are some other things we could do. We could put like no U-turn signs down there, you know, on Erda Way and stuff, because it's like Craig had seen and I've seen it. Cars will pull down and then whip a U and then come back so they get ahead of the line on Liddell and one at the church and stuff like that.
So imagine living down Liddell and you want to leave going southbound. And they've blocked the traffic lane
About a quarter of a mile.
for about a quarter of a mile. And you get stuck in that, you're stuck while school is dismissed. I mean, I don't know how long that would take, 15, 20 minutes, I guess.
Imagine going from one field by the school to another field in on Church Road with a 16-foot swather.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can tell you, it's a nightmare.
It'd be impossible. I had my horse trailer going through there one time, and people on the side of the road were parked so far out, I couldn't even get through. I had to stop and wait for the cars turning left into the school to get out of the way to get around them.
So I hear the cry for school zones. Won't somebody please think of the children sort of thing?
That's not what this is. It's the cars.
It's a
Yeah.
parking problem.
Yeah, I was about to say, slowing traffic down from a sheer practical sense does nothing to solve the problem.
We'd have
It
to
might
do
make
stuff
things a
like
little more safe,
No standing.
but it does nothing to help the traffic problem. And I think,
At 3 o'clock, you're not going 20 through there. I promise you. There's just so many cars, you can't go 20 through there if you wanted to.
exactly.
So do we need to have the county do one of them traffic surveys there and let them come up with how they want to fix it?
Yeah,
I think so.
that's the kind of thing I'm angling at, is having an expert look at
And
this
then they
and tell
can
us.
maybe
what
want to
needs
put in
happen.
some turn lanes or something like that. Widen it or- Well, in this case, though, there's no foot traffic whatsoever. It's all vehicular. There isn't kids on the streets or on the roads. It's all by car.
And they have a system that actually works pretty well, that people coming in from the east get to park at their, wrap around the church. But it's the people coming from the west and the northwest, they get piled up on Liddell. In addition to lines of cars on both sides of church, or the way, so.
I think there's a few things we could do to help it. Eliminating the U-turns, which is probably already illegal, where I think you'll find U-turns are only
Nobody-
allowed
Like I
at
said,
an intersection.
There's no enforcing that unless the sheriff or his deputy sits there and makes sure it doesn't happen.
Also, the school has people out on the street directing traffic. I don't know that they have
Stopping the
any
U-turns
training.
doesn't help the traffic problem.
It's a safety issue.
It's a
Oh,
safety
there's,
issue.
cause I've had
I'm not
multiple
talking about
people,
safety, I'm talking about the
well,
problem.
yeah, I don't know what the solution to the problem is.
They should have built a bigger frickin' parking lot.
They should have forced them to have more parking, more area when they
Schools,
build.
They should have done turn-in zones or turnout zones or widened it or do something.
Yeah, it was
Long.
Yeah, there's,
pretty
Go out
poor
the shoulder
planned.
and let the road go and have a shoulder to where they can park and do their thing.
but I guess we should probably look to the county and see what kind of suggestions and help they might suggest for us. If they have an ability to do a study or something. We should see what they have to
So you
say.
guys on the roads department or committee, and talk to Jed, and see what he's
Would it be
saying.
Jed?
Yeah.
Probably,
Yeah,
probably would. Yeah. Why don't I call him? And,
If, you know, if there's a fee involved for such a study, which I would
he'll
guess
have to-
there is,
he'll have to tell us.
just please start that discussion.
Yeah, they'll have to tell us, so.
My thought is, and this is the way I think about government and laws and everything in general, is if people are doing U-turns, it's probably because there needs to be a way to do a U-turn there legally. So rather than no U-turns, we try to come up with a way to accommodate the need.
That's a
That
safety
makes
issue.
sense.
There's-
It's a safety issue.
there's no
So
need.
you find a way to do it safely, is my point.
Is what they're doing is going down the road instead of waiting in line to make the left-hand turn into the school like everybody else. They're going down the road, doing an illegal U-turn and coming back and making a right-hand turn
To get into a shorter line?
Yeah.
because it's a much, much shorter line. Because right-hand turns always have the right-of-way. So instead of waiting for 100 cars, they go up there, make U-turns, and there's only 4 or 5 cars there.
Exactly.
So Excelsior has a very complicated pickup and drop-off system. I have a friend who works there and who has kids that go there, and they have color-coded lines. And you
Yes.
can only go on that line if you have that color. So those people that are making those U-turns are probably going in there because that's their color, and they're trying to get to where their color line is. But they have 4 different lines and 4 different
So
colors.
there should be a better way to legally get.
They
where
need to
they
go
need to
down
go.
and around the block then, instead of
Well,
making a U-turn.
They can't go down the long block because Liddell is blocked for a quarter mile.
They can come down Cochrane. They can go down Cimarron and come around Cochrane and the other way.
Now, you're
There's,
bringing them into my neighborhood and I don't like that.
no, life's hard.
So should we have the roads department meet with the county, get what we need to get done there, and then meet with Excelsior and try to come up with a plan, a better plan for it?
We ought to at least try.
We should be trying.
I think Scott and I should have a face-to-face with Jed
Mhm.
and go over several things.
That'd be great.
We'll do it.
Okay, anything else from the roads committee?
Not for a minute, unless you wanna talk about it now.
Hold that thought. Council representative reports?
I did have one thing come up from our land use. The question has come through Ensign Engineering about agricultural building permits. And what we want to do,
Is there a
or
reduced fee on that or no fee on that?
reduced fee, very reduced fee. And according to state code, no engineering is required on an agricultural building. I remember when I built my barn, I was a little surprised about that, and the guy at the county says, I don't care if your barn falls down, that's not my problem. But there has been an agricultural permit for a building put into Ensign Engineering, and they're wondering what our policy is going to be. Do we want to follow the state code strictly? Do we want to try fudging and going from that somewhere, adopting our own code?
Is the state code not sufficient to lean on? Do we need to come up with our own rules?
I think the state code's fine
Would
myself.
engineering qualify for agricultural?
The state code, you have to be 5 acres, or if you're in a city, 2 contiguous acres, and it has to be for an agricultural use. Just because you have 2 acres doesn't mean you can put up a garage and park your car in it.
So how does an engineering qualify for,
How does an engineering what?
building qualify as an
It's
agricultural?
an agricultural building.
It has to be used,
The law says we don't need engineering for agricultural
Right,
buildings.
but you're talking
Store
about Ensign
hay.
building theirs, right?
no. The application has gone to Ensign.
Okay.
And they're wondering how to proceed, how the city wants to proceed with it. They require site plans still. They're trying to follow kind of what the county was doing. So you have to submit a site plan so they can check that you make your setbacks, that they can check that your total roof coverage on your lot, that you still meet all those requirements for the zone you're in. But they're asking, do we want to try to require engineering?
Isn't that land use code, it kind of goes step by step on everything that they need to do.
For the setbacks and everything, yes, and
As
that
far as-
has to be
And it
followed.
did require like a certified engineer on some of that stuff, so
There's
they're
an,
asking us to buy or waive that or something.
there's an, the state has an exemption for agricultural buildings where they don't have to have engineered plans. And he's asking if we want to follow that code or not.
Yeah, he's asking if we want to take it a step beyond and start to require engineering on it.
Yes, he's asking how much engineering would we want to require?
My suggestion is stay with status quo, no engineering.
So that's worked out for me a couple of times over the years. And
For full disclosure, the permit that's at the city is for a barn for me, to put my tractor in and my shop
Are
to
you
work on.
recusing yourself?
Well, I don't think there's a vote here, and I will, but, yeah,
I like status quo.
yeah,
How
so
about you
so do
guys?
I, so, but
Oh, that changes everything.
I think some,
well, it's going to be enforced uniformly, and that's what we wanna talk to, that's why we're talking about it.
Because you're the first one.
Is that where your
Well, I
new,
am the first
where
one.
your new tractor's gonna go?
oh, not
My
necessarily the first one.
1935 will probably be in there, but so will my
But it's,
big one,
it's an
and my baler.
agricultural vehicle.
I have borrowed Scott's barn for many winters now to put my baler in over the winter. I'd kinda like to be able to put it in my own and leave it there even in the summer when it rains.
There you go.
So,
Okay,
but
Scott.
there is some opportunity for abuse.
Sure.
We know of a neighbor that wanted to put up an ag building. They actually submitted plans to Ensign, but they were inadequate entirely. And so they just declared it an ag building and put it up anyway. But they parked their cars in it. So,
So then it's a compliance issue at that
yeah,
point.
so how do we take care of the compliance?
We can make Jen the compliance officer.
Yeah,
She can
we'll
be-
send
she can be
Jen
pretty-
out there with a yardstick and, so there is some opportunity for abuse, in a situation like that. But the way that we're talking about this now, if it's actually an ag building, you know, you contract with someone, or you are a contractor. One of mine, was put up by me and Craig and John Blizzard and half of the ward. But it was an ag building, so it didn't have to meet certain codes and restrictions. Another one that I put up, Roper Buildings came and just put it up. And when I called the county about it, they said, no, we don't need to have any inspections or any permits. We do wanna know what's there, but, so I think an ag building can be totally exempt, just the way the state code calls for it. But somehow we're gonna have to watch for abuse.
And on the day you go to inspect for abuse, you won't find anything but chickens in there.
Sure.
But it's a compliance issue at that point, and we just deal with it however we deal with other compliance issues.
So, anyway, the long and short of that is I'm in favor of leaving the statute the way it is written by the state.
Sounds good to me.
Terry, you still on the fence?
Oh, I think I'm ready.
All right. Anything else you want to say on that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. General comments? Okay, let's discuss this interlocal agreement. Let's be careful about what we
We can
say and how we say it, and
You gonna do any comments
if
from
we
the
need
council?
to, we'll go to a closed session.
We're gonna go to a closed session to discuss the
If
interlock.
needed. I
John,
hope we don't need it.
John, have you done anything with the RFPs for the snow removal?
Do we lose John?
He's still there.
He's probably talking but doesn't realize he's on mute.
All right. So what's the latest agreement? The old one apparently is not even that anymore, so we got a copy of what the current one is?
Get it, one official one until the 27th, which would require an emergency meeting to vote on before the 28th.
So I went to the county council meeting Tuesday night, and they discussed this. There was only 3 commissioners there in attendance, so no one really knows what the final looks like yet. There was there was little discussion about the roads. Everyone seemed to think that if they collected all the money from the roads, they would provide those road services through 2025, fiscal year 2025. The payment of $424,000 did not sound like it had a lot of support. That hinged largely on the other 2 commissioners and how they feel about it. Once again, we won't know the answer to that until the 27th.
One thing on that, I talked to Ty Hoffman today. He mentioned he doesn't think that's gonna go through. And Terry and I are probably in favor of not having it go through and just starting now. Because otherwise, if they send us that money, we're gonna have to give it right back to them.
We had never expected a payment
Right.
for 424, and so now that it's gone,
And there's a fairly large fee that would come with it, Ty said.
There was no fee in the original contract, but I'm sure something would change
He said
there.
it amounted to almost 10%.
See,
we don't
Yeah, we-
absolutely need that money.
the way I understand it, they make it sound like we're getting all these services for nothing, like we're not paying our share or something. And I don't understand where
There are some on the council that think we're not paying our share.
we're paying over $200,000, like for the sheriff's thing. I mean, that's paying something, and they're gonna have to start laying off officers if they keep turning down work and stuff like that.
That would be a blessing for them.
And then on ARP funds, which included the citizens of Erda, they got paid over 400,000 for the population of Erda in their ARP fund.
Okay,
Our city won't see any of that because we were in a city, well, we probably were a city, but we didn't apply for it or couldn't at that time. But it was still, our population was included into their payment.
our population was in payment. ARPA funds are for COVID-related expenses and loss of revenue governments in 2019 and 2020. We were not a city in 2019.
My point is, they still got that money based on the population.
Yes, they got that money for expenses that they lost and revenue that they lost in 2019 and 2020. We have no claim to that money in any way, shape, or form.
Came out, well, if we were a city at that time, we could have. But
Yes, if we'd have been a city, we could have filed for that ARPA money and had it. But the reality is the county is the one that lost the revenue over those years and had the extra expenses of dealing with COVID. And that's what the ARPA money's for. So we really have no claim to any ARPA money.
like I said, it was based on our population, so.
Yeah.
They're talking about doing what I understand, maybe a trails deal or something through the county. Yeah.
Yeah, they have it to do whatever they wish with, and whatever they do as a part of the county, we'll reap those benefits. Because we are still members of the county, we will still reap whatever benefits they do with that.
I just don't understand why you think we're paying nothing. It's like giving us a handout. I just don't understand where they get that from.
A big chunk of that comes in the sheriff's budget. The money that comes from the municipal tax, the
40% and all that stuff. I understand, but we're still paying for services. It's not like you're getting it just for free.
way they based it was off money that they would have lost that municipal tax. That tax only pays 60% of the sheriff's budget. So out of the general fund, they pay the other 40%. So they're saying if we do it for the loss, the county is picking up the other 40% of policing. Now, I disagree with them a little bit on that. The auditor has sent us the actual expenses for policing the Erda area over the last 6 years, and it averaged $232,000 a year over the last 6 years before we were incorporated.
I was trying to get to was we would, and I talked to before was we were the salary and benefits and everything else for 2 officers. That's what it probably takes to patrol or what they use for the city, plus any gas and fuel, vehicle or anything like that. So we'd be paying for the services received.
If there's any
Because what you're talking about is manpower for the whole county. It's just like when I used to send people out, I could either send one guy and it takes longer, I could send 3 guys to get done faster. But it still is the same amount of manpower.
According to the auditor, their actual expenses for policing the Erda area average over the last 6 years is $232,000 a year.
But they charge $278.
Well, that's a 6-year average. There's a lot of inflation. Things cost a lot more now than they did.
My proposal would have been by the cost of living allowance, not just kind of generate some inflation number that's arbitrary. I'd say whatever the cost of living that would be charged to the city.
Yeah, but inflation's far outpaced that recently. Like say, a 6-year average is 230. With inflation and the expenses of things today, it's a lot more than average of the last 6 years.
Well, I guess maybe let's go back to what original deal we were talking about, is getting a town market.
Well, we could look at that, but the estimate that we had from Travis Romney,
He was doing his own dispatch and 3 officers and everything else. I'm saying.
no, that was for him and one other
I
officer.
think it was him and 2.
It was him and one other officer.
It was him, an officer, and 1 on call.
Yeah, so there's like 2. But like I said, but regardless of that, he was coming up with his own dispatch and everything else. We can't afford him either. We can't afford her. So like I said, we could afford a marshal and a vehicle to start with. And then see, because we're still talking about, we don't know what we're getting. We haven't got a correct amount of what our monthly income is going to be. Income, none of that stuff. It's all up in the at least 1 year in to determine what our revenue actually is instead of having to guess all the time.
Okay, I have the police startup cost right here. Minimum startup cost was $103,000 in year one.
And
I mean, to start up.
and the sheriff said there were just a few
And
nickels
he,
and dimes missed.
yeah, he's missing a few items there. Salaries, the chief salary and one officer is $126,000 a year.
And a part-time. But see,
No.
that was what he was requesting.
I have his proposal right here in
That's
front
what
of
I'm
me.
saying, that's what he was requesting. It doesn't mean it's gonna cost that. It'll cost whatever we pay.
He has, well, I have a son that's an officer. And he would not even dream of taking a pay cut to come to work for $25 an hour.
I know the county sheriff's average $27 an hour.
Right. So how many officers are you
That's
gonna
like,
get?
talk about 60,000 a year.
Right. Also, the level of service you get out of two officers, there's 2,000 hours, working hours in a year.
But you also, you're not gonna have a police department with 2 officers. You have to have a chief.
Right.
You have to have somebody who's got some experience and can draw the salary.
So I
into that.
Correct.
And we just need to start out with the town marshal and go from there.
If there's an emergency, the sheriff has to back them up, whether there's a contract or
Well,
not.
and the fact of the matter is, we may have to look at that. We may not be offered sheriff services at any price from the county.
At some point, that could come, and it might be coming fast.
I hope that day is not October 1st, 2022. My goal would be to come up with some sort of agreement with the county. Whether it's a year or 2 or 6 months, I'd do 2 more years at a fair price is what I would love to see with the county and continue the excellent service that they provide for us. If that cannot be extended because the council doesn't have the votes, then at least give us 6 or 8 months or a year, hopefully, to come up with Plan B.
Like I says, I don't know, like, the county, I guess they must have bucks or something to say, okay, we don't want $250,000 from the city of Erda.
It's still Erda is still political.
Well, the truth of it is, it'll cost them less. They're spending that much money in Erda policing. There's really not even a question about it. The number of calls, the amount of time they spend there, they have tracked it. They know how much money they're spending. And they know what the revenue loss is. If they,
What do they charge rush value?
no, I'm not entirely sure, but that would be a really good question.
Well, I can tell you the answer.
I'd love to hear it.
They have to handle the 911 calls, the emergencies, they have to go. And then if they request an officer to like go sit on the road or do something like that, they pay that officer double time, overtime pay.
And that's an interlocal agreement between,
That's the way they handle it.
so no such agreement is being offered to Erda.
Yes.
Does Colin say this has council approval?
Well, the first part was
No.
the original the original
What is it?
proposal.
It's nothing.
The first part was the original proposal.
It's what he's gonna present to the
He's gonna
council.
present it to the council.
Yes, it's based off of conversations that Scott and Terry had with them, with a couple of their council members. 68,000 a quarter is $272,000 for policing. That is a bargain.
And 628.
And 620.
Yeah,
Let's not forget that.
I'll round it up to 273, and that is a bargain for policing an area and a population like we have.
And then that includes like the 10% out of area fee, I guess. I guess we seceded from the county.
That they're adding 12.5% because we wanted to be a city. But they are going to have actual expenses incurred in some of that also, so. If it comes to us in a format similar to this,
Well, it sounds to me
take the offer.
sounds to me like all they're doing is proposing what they already proposed, because it only ran to December 2023.
That's all they had projected the revenue out,
Well, according to what John just said, that was the end of it, the to be determined.
to be determined. There's two things to be determined,
That was the next couple of years.
judging from being in the council meeting. Number one was, will they provide service beyond that? That was to be determined. And what will the inflationary costs be? They do not want to tie themselves into a contract in today's economy, not knowing what the inflationary costs will be.
So why not go with the cost of living allowance?
Because
Like
cost of
every
living
other
allowance
business.
isn't affected by the price of gasoline and tires and cars.
Every other business does, and yes, it is included in that.
They're not willing to do that.
John, did they make the termination, time longer? All right.
60 days.
Maybe he,
In the county council meeting, I had talked with everyone individually, and I talked to them in their meeting, and I have requested that they make that a 6-month and protection for both sides. It really helps give both of us some protection. They can't cancel us and give us 60 days to come up with a force. We can't, after they hire officers and buy equipment, say we're done, we're out of 60 days, and leave them with an extra officer that they don't have a use for. It gives both sides a lot of protection. 6 months seems better to me, and I think
any other significant changes, John?
I don't love that, but I can live with it.
And if we're paying by the quarter, I'm not so opposed to not going by our physical year instead of theirs, because we go July to June. But where it's a quarter deal, we can kind of budget that in as the quarters go. So But as I understand it right now, what's on the table does not exceed December 23, correct? Right. So going in,
The long and the short of it is, we don't know exactly what they'll offer us until the night of the 27th. Because that's when they are going to vote on it, on what they will offer us. Our services end days after that. I think we should, yeah, I think we better plan on having a special meeting that week to uh, either accept or not accept their offer.
but we
I think you're gonna have to have that meeting without me.
Why is that?
So you'll be skinning a deer. About that time.
Uh,
so theirs is on the 27th.
You'll shoot one days ahead of that.
So why can't we get a vote on the 27th, 22nd, so we can up or down it, and they can do the same on the 27th?
because they're not going to meet until the 27th, up or down what they'll offer us.
If we can.
Don't they know what they're doing?
Late.
I thought they just sent us a deal now, but.
Well, just like us, they can't approve anything until they're in a meeting. And their next meeting is on the 27th.
What they propose, and then we can either up or down it.
They haven't proposed it yet. They have not had a meeting to even discuss what the proposal will be.
Meeting on the 27th.
7 o'clock.
So if we plan a meeting for 8:30 or 9, I can do it. On the 27th.
We could do that. We could have a meeting directly after they have their meeting upstairs, or even while they're having their meeting upstairs. We could ask them to move it to the first of their.
Thing is, it catches us in a, because if it comes and we say nay or do whatever, we're completely without everything.
Pins us in a corner pretty bad.
We've also put ourselves in this because we didn't send a proposal to them months ago. Them looking at, we kind of waited for them to give us a proposal, then sending stuff to them. So we are every bit as much to blame for the position we're in than they are.
They call the shots. We can say all we want, but it's they decide.
So we didn't send them a proposal either.
Well, John asked, I remember him asking Colin, you want me to work something up, or are you gonna do it? He said
Yeah, that was
that was in the meeting, Scott.
6 weeks ago. Which, like I say, we
Like I said, John asked Colin specifically, you want me to put something together, or do you want to do it? Colin said he would do it.
yes,
So how does that put the blame on us?
that was approximately
Well, a little more than that.
maybe a little more than that, but not much. So, like I say, we are every bit as much to blame as they are.
So here's what I think. I don't entirely agree with their accounting. When they say that we're not paying what we're receiving. I think that originates in lobbies from other places in the county that are hoping to have more funds available to them. I think we are paying for what we receive. I think we receive really good service from them. So I think that we would be putting ourselves at risk if we didn't accept an offer very similar to what they've given to us.
We'll need to come up with a plan B instead of talking about it, because sometime we're gonna have. And like I said, we can't wait till the last minute, say, okay, something happens.
That's true. We can't come up with another plan without applying money and getting like an RFP. If we send those out and then all of a sudden cancel them, we're gonna get a reputation.
Have an idea what the cost would be.
Yeah, I think somewhere there ought to be some place we can do some research without putting things in motion to find out what it's gonna cost us. And when we do find out, like you say, Terry, what we're actually gonna be receiving in a year's time, then
That's what gets me is our revenue. We have no idea what the
Yeah.
actual revenue is. We're just guesstimating and estimating, and we haven't got anything steady coming in for sure. We just, I mean, we didn't get our B and C for May and June until the end of August.
yeah.
And yet we've got the March, April, the middle of May. So you never know when the funds come in, so.
And I know that keeps you awake at night. But we need to find out what we're gonna have in a year and then start squirreling away money so that in the eventuality that we're gonna have to come up with a police force, we have money to do it and we have some solid information on how to do it and where we're gonna get the manpower. But I think for this month, and I would like to see the sheriff's department go for another year. If they're offering us a full year, I think we ought to take that.
If it's at the price they're proposing, then
Yeah,
I agree, and if we can get 3
basically
years,
100% of our budget for that, but great.
if we can get 3 years, even better. I agree with Scott, the service we get from the sheriff is fantastic, it really is. I also agree with him that we are paying our share. Now, and I base that off of a couple things. One, the auditor has said what it costs to provide services in Erda, and we're willing to pay that. That's the number it was based off. They ran it a couple different ways. It comes out within a couple $100. There are those that say that, well, that's only 60% of the sheriff's budget, but the reality of it is the sheriff has to cover the entire county. If there's a wreck out on Foss Road, there's no tax base paying for the sheriff to respond and be out on Foss Road or Lookout Pass or in Skull Valley. So there are things that the entire county will have to pay for. Search and rescue, if you go up a canyon and you break your leg, there's no tax base of homes to pay for that. That's something that's countywide. So we shouldn't be paying 100% of all the costs. We should only be paying that 60%, which is the actual expenses in Erda. That being said, like I say, if we can get this contract for 2 or 3 years at what these expenses are, it's nearly like getting a gift horse. By way of comparison, I talked with the sheriff from Unified. They were estimating us at $900,000 a year for Unified to provide services for us. So that's kind of a baseline of what those services could cost.
thanks. Okay.
It suddenly makes it look like,
On the other end, if you just did one marshal like we was talking about, it doesn't have as good a coverage or does whatever, but it'd definitely be within our budget. Because
it would be surprisingly close to this.
Well, I'd say 70,000 for a salary and then a vehicle and
70,000 for the salary is just the start. Because you still have
You
to
got
pay
benefits and
benefits.
stuff like that, but that's nowhere near 275,000.
It would be cheaper in 275, but not much, because you still have to do the Spillman, you still have to have the vehicle.
We already got the dispatch. We're paying.
We have the dispatch, but Spillman over a 5-year contract was, when Travis ran it, $28,000 a year. And there's no way of getting out of that, you have to have it. It doesn't matter if it's a town marshal or a chief of police and 5 officers, you still have to pay the Spillman, and it's gonna cost you 28,000 a year.
And the salary would be monthly, and so it wouldn't be such a big chunk at once too.
It's the same amount in any fiscal year.
But what I'm saying is it's monthly instead of like right at the end. You don't notice it as much when they kind of skim off.
It feels better writing multiple small checks.
It's one huge. You get carpal finger.
Well, you've also got the highway patrol, back and forth on SR 36, down Erda Way, and on 138. That's paid by, the state funds. And there's at least 2, sometimes 3 highway patrolmen patrolling that area, all the way to Windover.
Yeah, out on the highway.
Yeah, they're on they're on those major highways, SR 36, 138. Next to Mid Valley Highway, here, Highway Patrol is on there as well. And they stage themselves up between Sheep Lane and that where it bisects. There's usually 1 or 2 officers there every day, every morning when I go by. They're hanging out there and they pull people over left and right.
That's good.
Anything else pertaining to the agreement?
I'm done discussing.
So I guess we'll have hours to figure it out. Once
Yeah,
they say
we'll have
this is the
hours to
thing,
make
we'll
it that way.
look at it, say, well,
Yeah. Seems like we've done that before. But still, the anything can happen at their meeting. It doesn't really matter how concrete what you give us is. If it's before that meeting, it can.
it's gonna be no.
And it will be non-negotiable. All right. I have one thing. Says anything? It's possible that the sponsors and likely uh, elect next elected officials of Lake Point come to our meeting and kind of do a short Q&A. And so this council be willing to give them some time during our meeting.
I've had several calls already. I was on the phone for like an hour.
I was today.
You do the A.
Huh?
You do
Do the A without the Q? Anyway, just want to try and learn from our experience for what we've been doing 7, 8 months and or longer. And the only way they can get all of us is during a public meeting. And so I thought maybe if we give them 10 minutes in a meeting, so that would be appropriate, but
I think we should.
might cut down on the phone calls. Maybe not.
Well, but it's a public, I think,
I think it's good. I think it'll be
I
good
think
for
we
the two
should.
cities to talk and.
Friendship going.
Okay, great. I'll and get it on an agenda. Okay, anything else? All right.
Move we adjourn.
second. Third.
Moved and seconded. Adjourn this meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Nothing noteworthy again.
I feel like we did a lot of talking and nothing.
We got